Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kate, and in this channel we're going to be discussing everything data engineering, analytics engineering, data governance, ethics of AI. So please stay tuned and subscribe to my channel. Today specifically we're going to be talking about analytics engineers. Who are analytics engineers? How did they come about, and what tools do they use? Traditionally, data teams were made up of data engineers and data analysts. And data engineers, what they did was they owned ETL processes. Now, by ETL process, I mean extract, transformation, and loading of data into data warehouses, where the data analyst can now own the business intelligence and the analytics reporting. Now, ETL, this stands for extract, transform, and load, just like the name sounds. The extraction is where data is extracted from different sources. This could be an API, this could be a streaming website, this could be an application. Data engineers typically use different tools to extract data. After the extraction is the transformation stage. Now, it's important to know that in ETL processes, the transformation is done before data is loaded into the data warehouse. However, in ELT, which we're going to get to, the transformation is done as the last stage. Now, in the load stage, this is where the data is now loaded into the data warehouse. This is typically an OLAP system. Now, data analysts, on the hand, they own business intelligence, analytics reporting, and interfacing with stakeholders to know the business requirements. This is what data analysts are typically known for. Now, here comes the transition. Due to the rise in cloud technologies and falling storage costs, ELT became more popular in recent times compared to ETL processes. Now, it doesn't mean that ETL processes are still not being done in some organizations. However, ELT just became more popular. So in ELT, what happens is that the final data is loaded directly into OLAP data warehouses, making it readily available for data transformation. Now, ELT is basically a reverse of ETL. This is because in ELT we have data transformations being done in the data warehouse. Now recall that in ELT or in ETL we have our transformations being done before the data is loaded into the data warehouse. Whereas in ELT we have the load and the transform stage being interchanged. Now, it's also important to note that one of the major reasons for the rise in ELT is because cloud storage can seamlessly expand or shrink storage capacity and increase performance to match demand. Right, so now that we've come to ELT, now you understand what ELT stands for. Now this is where analytics engineer come into place. Recall that we said that data engineers traditionally have owned ETL processes. However, with the transition to ELT and transformation being the last phase of the process, we now have a new role where we need someone that is willing to own the data transformation, and this is where analytics engineers come into place. Analytics engineers own data modeling. The transformation stage would require, recall that the data at this transformation stage, the data is already in the data warehouse, and then we also still have our data analyst, of course, owning reporting of the data, but we need the data to be transformed because data that is loaded into a warehouse is never at the best stage it should be in, and we need the data to be transformed. We need the data to be in a format that the end users, which could be your data analyst or could be different teams in an organization like your finance team, your regulatory team, and all of that, they need this data to be in a certain format. So this is where the analytics engineer come in. They do or they own the transformation of the data using different tools. Typically, one of the major tools that um, analytics engineers get to use is DBT, and that is one of the major things I'm going to be talking about on this channel. We're going to be breaking down DBT, how to use DBT installation, and everything data modeling. So I hope you stay tuned, and I also hope that you enjoyed um, this topic. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great time. Bye.